Alright, I got a scary story for you. This is a true story that my coworker told me one day when we were sitting around on break having a conversation about whether or not we believed in ghosts, and it genuinely freaked me out. So he said back when he was a freshman in college, there was this dorm building on his campus that had been completely shut down. The building had been closed shortly after a tragedy had taken place there where a young woman who was a freshman at the school had unalived herself in her dorm room. So one night, my coworker and one of his college buddies are just sort of roaming around campus looking for something to do when they suddenly find themselves by this building. Now, they had heard the story about what had happened in there, and they knew that the school had closed the building off to any students, but being young, adventurous college kids, they kind of looked at each other and were like, screw it, let's see if we can get in there and explore the place. To their surprise, they actually managed to get into the building pretty easily. And once they were in there, they saw that most of the furniture had been cleared out, lights were off, and even many of the doors inside were dead-bolted. So it was clear that no one had been living in that building for quite some time. So they continue exploring the place, just walking up and down the halls and checking out the different rooms, or at least the ones they could get into. Eventually, they found themselves on this one floor of the building that had pretty much nothing but dorm rooms. So they're walking down this one hallway, and as they go, they're stopping at each of the dorm rooms and trying the doors to see if any of them are unlocked or if they can get in, but sure enough, they're all dead-bolted. But eventually, they find this one door that doesn't have a lock on it, so they're like, oh, finally, maybe we can actually get into this room. So they try to open it, but for whatever reason, they can only seem to get the door open by like a couple inches. In his own words, he said it was as if someone was on the other side of the door trying to hold it shut. So they're standing there struggling with this door, trying to open it, but it won't budge, and they're looking at each other like, what the hell's on the other side of this door that's blocking it? Eventually, they just get fed up and they say, you know what, let's just move on and try to explore some other rooms. But as they start to walk away, they hear the door behind them slowly creak open. Now, his buddy who's with him is just immediately spooked and just takes off running and just kind of leaves him behind. But my coworker has the opposite response, and he actually freezes there for a moment before he slowly turns around, and when he does, he sees that, sure enough, the door is open and that there's actually a young woman standing in the doorway. And unlike his friend, he wasn't scared, he actually felt bad, so he immediately starts apologizing to her. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, my friend and I were just exploring this place. We thought it was closed down. We didn't think anybody was living in these rooms. Like, we're really sorry for bothering you. I hope we didn't scare you at all. And the girl was actually really cool about it. She didn't seem upset at all. She told him that it was okay and that she understood, and even introduced herself and began to strike up a conversation with him. So they start making small talk, just talking about that they're both freshmen and where they're from and, what their majors are and just things like that. And eventually she tells him that she had actually transferred from another school but is now living on this campus and that this is her dorm room. And it was on that note that my coworker goes, yeah, speaking of that, why are you living in this particular dorm room? Because this whole building is supposed to be shut down and all the other doors on this floor are dead-bolted shut. Like, you're the only one who lives on this entire floor. And he said she was just very sort of nonchalant about it and kind of just looked at him and went, oh, really? Well, I don't know. And basically just brushed it off like she didn't know what he was talking about. So he thought that was kind of weird, but he figured whatever, he didn't want to press her on it too much, so he continued just making small talk with her. But as he continued making small talk with her, he said eventually his eyes kind of started to drift past her and look behind her into the room. And it was then that he noticed that the room was completely empty. There was no furniture, no bed, no desk, no personal belongings. It was just a completely bare, empty room. So once he notices this, he's just immediately really confused and weirded out. So he tells her, you know what, I should probably get going. I gotta go find my friend, but it was nice meeting you. So they say goodbye, and he leaves and catches up with his friend and tells him all about that sort of both normal but weird exchange that he just had with this girl. So days go by and he's still just trying to wrap his head around this weird interaction, and he eventually gets to the point to where he's like, you know what, I'm gonna look up that case where the girl had unalived herself in that dorm building. So he looks it up and he finds the name of the girl who had passed away in there. And sure enough, it was the same name as the girl that he had talked to that night. He said him and his friend have never gone back into that building and that it's still abandoned till this very day. If you like this video, stay tuned because I'm going to be posting more creepy stories on here. And even if you have one yourself, feel free to DM me and maybe I'll read it. Thanks.
Story that sounds completely unbelievable, but is entirely true.
This is a deviation from my usual content, but I love the scary, spooky stuff. Now, while this isn't about ghosts, this is going to be about the abnormal or the paranormal. And as a Haitian American, let me tell you now, they believe in people turning into animals, zombies, and all types of weird voodoo stuff. I was in junior high school at the time, and I'm living in Brooklyn, and my cousins come to visit from out of town. Now, traditionally, when you come to visit a different place, you go to see all the family. And one particular trip, they made to go visit an elder. I'll just call her an elder. So we go to spend time with this elder. And while we're there, we're just like begging my mom to sleep over, which ultimately turned out to be a horrible decision. So we get to the house and, you know, you're going upstairs, putting your stuff away. And in the room where this elder was sleeping, there was a Bible open with a candle lit, like one of those long 7-day candles. It was lit. As soon as we walked into the room, the candle snuffs out. Here's the thing. We are by the door when this happens. There's not a window open. There's nothing that possibly has snuffed that candle out, but it goes completely out. That was event number one. The cousin that went upstairs with me was just like, did you see that? I was like, yeah, I saw that. Did you see that? We both made sure that we both understood what we saw. Later that night, the 4 girls all slept together in a big bed. And then the oldest boy went to go sleep in another bed. And he was in the room with the elder. The cousin who was with me earlier that had seen the candle snuffed out stayed awake while our 2 younger siblings stayed asleep. There's a huge statue of Mary across from the bed where we're sleeping. And we start to see blood pouring from the statue's eyes. I look over at her and I'm like, I'm calling my mom. So there's a phone by the bed. I pick up the phone. Mind you, it's late at night and I'm calling my mother. Had to hit her up a couple times because she could not fathom that it was us calling her. So she finally picks up the phone and I'm like, I need you to come and get us right now. But you know, older people politics, they're like, it's not going to look right. If we come and get you, it's going to cause a problem. So you have to stay. Just make it through the night. It gets worse because the thing, whatever this entity is that's in this house must have gotten agitated that I called my mom to come get us because now we hear scratching at the door. This is happening in intervals of maybe like a minute or 2 in between, but we hear against a wooden door. At this point, everybody's up and they all hear it. And we're like, what the heck is going on? And none of us have the balls to get up to go look and see what the heck is on the other side of the door. Needless to say, we did not sleep that night. Morning comes and the boy cousin that was sleeping in the other room with the elder, we asked him, hey, did you hear anything that was going on last night? And he was like, yes, but he was too scared to get up and see anything. Fast forward a couple days later, the cousins leave. I'm home from school because I'm sick and they leave me with this elder. As you can imagine, I'm terrified, but I'm sick, so I fall asleep. Ultimately, at some point, I wake up, I go look for said elder, and she's upstairs. And I hear her upstairs having a conversation, but it's only her and I in the house. Now, for context, she could have easily been on the phone, but it sounded like I could hear the other person in the house speaking too. Y'all, when I go upstairs, I open the door. There is a my-size Barbie standing erect. And then once I open the door, it falls over. Now, if you remember anything about that my-size Barbies, they cannot stand up on their own 2 feet. They were not like flat-footed. They didn't have a stand. They could not stand up. There's no possible, humanly, physically, scientifically possible way that this Barbie could have been standing up straight. And then why did it fall when I got into the room? Still can't explain it to this day. But what I found even more weird is that that elder left that house like maybe a couple years later, and the kid who the doll belonged to was not of age to play with the doll anymore. And when I saw the doll, I was creeped out because I'm just like, why is that doll still here? Like, you're too grown to be playing with this doll. She says to me, it's not for me. The elder wanted to keep it. I was done. I literally told my mother to come get me because I'm not staying there. I have a ton more stories just like this. If y'all want to hear, let me know.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
This happened to me 2 years ago when I went on a birthday trip to Las Vegas. And basically, I really wanted to see this place called the Mob Museum. I was literally fascinated. I was like, I have to see it. And I'm really into forensics and the organized crime stuff. Sounded interesting, so I wanted to go. So I go to the Mob Museum. It is 3 floors. I start at the first floor. I look all around. I go to the second floor. I look all around. And before I get to the third floor, I realize it is 10 minutes until closing. And my mom's like, hey, just meet me downstairs. You go ahead. So I continue up these stairs to the third floor. And when I get up there, I'm the only one there. There's no one up there, which was fine with me. I'm actually thinking at the time, this is awesome. Like, no one's in my way. I can just make my little round and head out. So when I get up there, I look kind of to the left, and there's a room where there's like a purple, real groovy looking couch, real groovy looking living room setup. And I'm thinking, oh, that looks cool. So I walk in there. Immediately when I walk in there, I just don't feel right. I don't know how to explain it. I don't feel great. Like, I just feel off. It felt like I just suddenly was like, came over with like just this creeped out feeling for some reason. And I didn't know why, because I was just admiring this like real unique looking living room setup they had going on up there. That was until I look over to the right and I noticed that there is a whole wall with a display of very graphic crime scene photos. And that wasn't the problem, okay? Like, I've seen crime scene photos. I've taken classes in forensics and stuff. But these pictures, I've never seen pictures like that displayed like that on a wall, framed with plaques underneath. I was just kind of like, I don't know. I started thinking that was why I felt off initially when I walked in the room. I was like, I don't know. I felt like the way that those people were being displayed was just like not respectful to the deceased. So my intuition was telling me, don't participate in this madness. Like, literally, let's just go. Let's just leave. So despite what my intuition was probably telling me, I'm literally thinking, I don't know, I kept gaslighting myself. I was like, maybe it's because the pictures, and I basically swallow the lump in my throat, and I'm like, no, I'm going into forensics. I have to be able to handle this. So I go up to the wall to look at all these pictures and the like stories of these people. I only looked at a couple that were on the very right side. I read like a couple of them. And then one of the other pictures from like over here somewhere caught my eye because it looked so old. It was like so saturated and so black and white that I was like, this looks like maybe the oldest picture on this wall. So I look at that picture. It's a real graphic crime scene of a man. I cannot say anything else about it on this app. So I go up to this picture, I'm looking at it, and at some point I go to read the plaque. So I move my eyes down from the photo, and as soon as I'm not even joking, as soon as I start reading this guy's name, dude, bro, as I'm reading his name, feel an energy rise behind me. Like, it felt like a tall person was like standing behind me or something. And I don't know how to explain why I felt like this specifically, but it felt like something was like hovering over me. Like, I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain. I mean, it was just horrifying. It felt like something was like looking down at me, and I immediately feel like frozen. Like, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up. I have chills up and down my spine. I am not good. And I start booking it out of that room, and I'm surprised I didn't literally full sprint jump down those freaking stairs, but something kept telling me like, don't run or I'm gonna give off like more fear, more energy of fear. I was fully doused in fear. It probably would have made no difference, but I get down to the first floor. So I finally get down on the first floor, and I have to go down this entire corridor, like this entire hallway. And it's kind of a short hallway, and then you have to turn right to get to the exit and entrance of the museum. But when I tell you this felt like the longest hallway in the world, I'm telling you it felt like the longest hallway in the world. So I start speed walking down the hallway, and suddenly this energy that felt like was following me felt like it was literally standing in mine. It felt like something was standing in my energy. Like, I came over with somehow even more fear than I was already feeling, and start full on sprinting, about nearly falling over, like flying down these hallways. I'm literally just like flying towards the exit. And I get up to my mom, and she's like, oh my God, are you okay? I was literally like, thank God that's over. And then I get home, and some weird happened at my house. Some weird stuff happened at my house. And mind you, I've had paranormal experiences before. I have had things whisper in my ear. I have had weird experiences, but nothing made me scared like this. Nothing in my life. And I've been through cancer and like a lot of other things. And this truly is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. But if you want a part 2, let me know.
Okay, so this takes place in Virginia, in a place that is locally referred to as Hillbend, Virginia. This is some old country back here. And this would have been 21 years ago or so. My daughter would have been just born, and I was still with her father. Young family starting out, they had a farmhouse that gets passed through the generations, and they were like, hey, this is empty at the moment. We're not renting it out. You can stay here, no rent, just utilities until you get on your feet. We're talking a beautiful 2-story home, acreage with grandma right across the street at a reduced rate. Absolutely. We jumped at the opportunity. They even left a bunch of pieces of furniture in there, like a bed, different things, like just different pieces of furniture left around. So we had a partially furnished home at a reduced rate. Absolutely. Say less. And 4 months of living there, almost nothing. I will say maybe 4 or 5 little instances that I could definitely blow off to be anything or everything. Not enough to mention until New Year's night. New Year's night was a culmination of, I have no idea, but when I tell you, me and the father of my children can't even agree on like what color the sky is half the time, I could call that man right now and he will tell you that this is gospel spoken in a pulpit. Do you understand? That's where we're at. New Year's night. Babysitter. We got a babysitter. We were like, hey, let's go down to the neighbors. They're going to have a little shindig. Let's go down there and hang out with them. I don't drink. So let's preface this. I'm sober. He may have had a couple beers. I'm sober. So went down there, hang out, ate, did all the things. It's after midnight. What do you do in rural Virginia? Nothing. There's nothing to do. We were like, let's just take a loop around the bend. We go past the house, just look. Everything's quiet, calm, and collected. We do our loop around the bend. Takes us about 15 minutes, if that. As we're approaching the house, what cuts through the dark is our upstairs light. And we're like, what the hell? We know grandma is not going to be in our home at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning unless it's an emergency or someone's in my house. So we get to the house, we pull in the driveway. Every single light is on in my home. And there is a music emitting from my house that I didn't know my house could make music this loud. Continue. So I send him in. We notice right off the bat, we don't see any windows open, and we have to use our keys to get in. Neither the back nor the front door were unlocked or open. So we had to use the lock. He comes in and gives me the little cordless phone, because back then didn't have cell phone. If they did, I was broke. We didn't have one. So I'm saying on front punch with a cordless phone. I watched him go through the rooms, cutting stuff off. The music is still going, and I'm just sitting out here like, oh no. And next thing you know, I hear this man holler at me in a way that is not like, it's terror and fear. It's something I still to this day have never heard him be this way. But he was, please get in here. Please get in here now. You have to see this. And it was such urgency and fear. I'll just go. And with everything in me telling not to, I just go because I hear it in his voice. And when I walk into my room, there was a piece of furniture that I presumed was like this beautiful tabletop that she had left a pretty lamp on. And she said we could use it. And so I had some books up there, and knickknacks was this cute little thing that I used in the bedroom. Everything was cleared off of this and stacked extremely neat in a corner. This tabletop piece is now in the middle of our room that flips up. He did know that this did this. I didn't. And revealed a record player and a radio that is blasting music me or him nor would never listen to. And the part of this that is the most chilling, if you haven't got there, is the cord. The cord to this piece was stretched so tight into an electrical socket you could almost flick the cord. And me and him are just in silence, stunned. So we unplug it, we get everything back in the room, and it's just this eerie silence. And if that wasn't enough, we just kind of in unison sit on the bed, and the next thing you know, as like it stills, the bed just does this very, that was it. I slept in the truck, moved out the next day. And when and I can't say this enough, we don't agree on anything but this story.
Oh, you don't know how long I've been waiting for this. 2012, when me and my wife started dating, we got our first apartment. We moved in. Everything was running smooth. We settled. Everything was cool. Until a week later, we started hearing, little noises. Things were being knocked down, like, the bookshelves. And, we looked at each other, we're like, we kind of shook it off like it was no big deal. So then things started to get a little crazy. So we fell asleep one night, and then the next day, my wife asked me, "Hey, why were you playing with my feet last night?" And I looked at her like, "Playing with your feet? Why would I be playing with your feet?" And she was like, "You were tingling my feet, and you were kind of like pulling me, towards the end of the bed." And I was like, that was not me. I don't know what you're talking about. So she kind of gave me a look, like in shock, like she was. Then you can kind of tell like that she was scared. But then again, we kind of like shook it off, like, oh, it might have been a dream or something like that. Then the next night, she woke me up, and it was like, I think it was like somewhere around 2 o'clock, somewhere around 2:30, and then she's like, "Did you play with my hair? Did you put your hands like in my hair?" And I was like, "No." So she got really scared, and then she kind of like scooched over towards me and like hugged me. And then I was like, "What's going on?" And she was like, she couldn't even talk. So that same night, we moved to the living room and we slept on the couch. So the next day, we went to our normal routine. Like, again, we kind of shook it off because we never experienced this before together, So we kind of shook it off again. Like, I guess she was just like, she didn't want it to sound like she was crazy or anything like that. And I didn't want it to make her feel like, oh, maybe you're just tripping about something, So we were back to our room, and we noticed that as me and her are talking, like as we're trying to sleep, she can't sleep, I can't sleep. So we're talking to each other, and next thing you know, it's like somewhere around 12 o'clock. We hear something in the bathroom being knocked down. Bloof! I think it was like the body wash or something. And I looked at it, I was like, it was probably the body wash, like whatever. So then we freaking saw the freaking door for the bathroom open by itself. And then I was like, yo, screw it. Let's go to the living room. Let's go sleep on the couch. We slept on the couch that night. And it just gets crazy. So nothing happened after we went to the couch. And the next morning, we had an iPad that we were sharing together. So we used to make, like videos and all that type of stuff, like joking around. So I was going through the videos, and I saw the background on one of the videos was pitch black. And I'm like, wow, like who was recording? Like, what is this? So I played the video, and then I immediately call her. Like, I call her phone while she was at work because I got out of work before her. So I was like, yo, you need to come home. I need to show you something. She's like, what's going on? And I'm like, no, you need to come home. I need to show you something. So when she got home, I played the video for her. And it literally looked like somebody picked up her iPad. You can see the iPad being picked up. And then it started recording. And then it started walking towards something. And then when we saw what was recording, it was recording me and my girl sleeping on the couch, and we both snoring, and it's like literally on top of us recording us. And we were like, what the heck? Like, we started freaking out. I'm like, yo, is there somebody in our house? Like, there's somebody in our apartment? Like, what the hell is going on? Immediately, I started checking the whole apartment. I checked underneath the bed. I checked the closet. I checked the bathroom. I checked everything. I called the maintenance people for the apartment. I called the apartment complexes and everything. I got in contact with the manager. I let her know, like, yo, like, you got anything to tell me about this apartment? No. Everything's good. What's going on? And I'm like, nothing, because I don't want to tell them the reason, why I was calling, because I don't want to sound like I was, cuckoo. Nah, so it was crazy. And so this is when I got my confirmation. This part was crazy. I don't think it's crazier than the video and somebody recording us from the iPad. But I think this one was just like straight confirmation for me. So I took the day off because I had to take care of her dog. You know, she had a little Chihuahua. His name is Rico. And she had nobody to take care of the dog. So I'll stay home, you know, stay and watch the dog. And I was just playing my normal Call of Duty. And the next thing you know, I see the dog looking towards the room. And then it started shaking, but it was looking at something. And it wouldn't stop looking at something. So then the dog ran next to me and laid next to me like it was afraid. It was shaking. I was like, Rico, what's going on? You okay? And you know, like I'm petting him and everything, trying to calm him down. And then next thing you know, I hear a loud blah on a wall. Like somebody punched the wall real hard in our room. And I got up and I was like, what the heck was that? So I went and I started looking towards the room, like, what was that? So sometimes my wife has this little box with a whole bunch of pictures and stuff that she puts on the top of the shelf. And sometimes it slides down and it falls. And I'm like, it's probably her box. So I went into the closet, checked the closet. The box was still up there. And I'm like, what was that? So then I checked the other side of the bed. And I normally got these lights for like fog lights for cars. And I put it inside the closet. It's like a very deep inside closet, but it's open, right? Where you can stack the towels and everything. It was all the way in the back. And I'm the only one who can reach it because I'm tall. So I put it all the way to the top and I reach over it and grab it, right? When I started doing the math, and I was like, it shocked me because when I looked on the other side of the closet, my fog lights were all the way from here all the way over there. So I started doing the math. I was like, somebody had to physically grab the lights and throw it like as hard as they can to the wall. Like the wall had a hole. And I started like, whoa, like, no, I ran outside. I ain't gonna lie. Listen, I'm 6'5". I ran outside. I grabbed the dog and I was standing outside. And I waited for my girl to come home so I can break it down to her. So she got home and then we both walk into the room. And next thing you know, as I explained the things to her, the freaking closet door opened by itself. Literally, it just went like, all the way open. My girl jumped into my arms and was like, yo, that's it. That's it. So we started gathering information. I talked to the person in our apartment complex. Listen, tell me the truth. What's going on? What's the history in this apartment complex, right? So he told me that somebody unalived himself in there. Yep. And yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Somebody unalived themselves in there, and it happened last year before we moved in. Crazy, huh? So yeah. I go to church and stuff, so we started praying for the apartment, and the next thing you know, we opened the door. When I tell you that things started going crazy in the apartment, the rug, the carpet was wet out of nowhere. The TV was wet out of nowhere, and after that, everything was good. Everything was good after that. So yeah. We straight up had a demon in the house. We had a demon in our apartment. And then we ended up finding out that right next to us, there used to be a woman, and she was a witch. And my wife caught her doing weird things. And then she went back into our apartment. And next thing you know, I think like a week or two, she was no longer living in there. Crazy. That's my story.
So basically, it all started whenever I was younger, like, I don't know, I was a kid, maybe 8 or 9. And I remember having these really like horrific like nightmares or like night terrors, and my parents said that multiple times I had like woken up in the middle of the night, or they had woken up to me walking around in circles of like around the coffee table, just like Hello?
Okay, when I was younger, probably like 13, 14, 15 years old, somewhere around that time, I would always fall asleep on the couch at night watching TV. I didn't have a TV in my bedroom, so I would fall asleep on the couch at night watching TV. And my mom would always like yell at me the next day about sleeping on the couch. Like, when you're sleepy, go to bed. Well, one night I was babysitting my little cousin. He was about like 1 or 2, and we both fell asleep on the couch watching TV, right? So he's sleeping behind me on the couch so that he doesn't fall off and hurt himself. And, you know, I fall asleep, and at some point in the night, I wake up. And when I wake up, my little cousin is no longer like behind me. He is now kind of like laying over my body, kind of hanging off the couch, right? And so I'm like, whoa, what's this kid doing, right? So I pick him up, I put him back, I fall asleep again. Later on, I wake up again, right? And I don't know what's waking me up, right? I just know I'm waking up, right? Kind of, I don't know. I like almost like intuitively, I'm waking up. And this time when I wake up, this kid is now down the couch, head facing the opposite direction of me, down by my knees, right? Now he's down by my knees. And I'm like, what is going on with this kid? Like, he never sleeps crazy like this. I've never had this happen with him. So I just get up, I get him, I put him back. You know, he's not awake, he's knocked out, he's, you know, hard asleep. And then I go back to sleep. So then a little bit later, I wake up for a third time. This time, my little cousin is all the way down the couch, body hanging over the arm of the couch on the opposite end, like just hanging over it, right? And at this point, I'm like freaked out because I'm like, there's no way this kid is getting up and moving himself in these weird positions. And it's freaking me out. And I'm more like, I feel like someone is trying to steal my baby cousin. And so I wake up, my little crazy teenage self, I wake up, I get him, I put him back, I sit up, and I just kind of stay awake. I'm like convinced that something's trying to steal my baby. I don't know what, but I'm going to stay awake because it's not happening on my watch, right? So I stay up all night. The next day I tell my mom, and she's all like, Ebony, you're not supposed to be sleeping on the couch anyway, right? That's kind of how she takes it, right? So whatever. Fast motherfucking forward. I fall asleep on the couch by myself one day. And for some reason, in the middle of the night, I wake up. And when I wake up and I look over, there is this little short, gremlin looking monster person, like really, really short, tall enough that my face laying down on the couch and his face are level, just standing in front of me, just staring at me. I mean, just staring, not saying anything, not moving, but just like staring me down. I freak out. I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. I freak out. I grab the cover. I turn my back to it. I cover my head and I just start to pray. I just start praying all the prayers my grandma ever taught me. Just praying. And I guess I must have prayed and laid there like, if I don't move and it can't see my face, it can't hurt me type deal until I fell asleep. And then the next day I woke up and I told my mom. And she was like, Ebony, you probably just had a really bad dream. That probably was a nightmare. It probably just felt like it was real. And I was like, no, it was real. And I'm convinced that whatever the hell that was tried to steal my baby cousin. And I don't care who believes me. I don't care if my mom believed me. I don't care if she thinks I had a nightmare. I never fell asleep on that couch again. And I know something was trying to steal my baby cousin that night. That's all I got to say.
Here goes a story. So remember how I told y'all I was going to work the day shift. So today I worked the day shift. You know, I'm thinking day shift, no ghosts, no spirits, no nothing. Just day shift stuff. A lot of people there, a lot of services, so on and so forth, right? So I'm sitting up at the front and I had put like a stack of papers on the desk, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. I turn to do something else on my computer. Next thing you know, this whole stack of papers just get knocked off the desk. And I'm like, what the heck? I get up, pick the papers up, put them back where they were, and they get knocked off the desk again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, Casper, give me a sec. Okay, Casper, you're just gonna keep knocking my stuff over. So I put it back on the desk, right? I turn around. 2 seconds later, the papers are flying on the floor again. So I look at the lady on the side of me and I'm like, are you throwing my papers on the floor? And she's like, no, that's George. George is doing that. And I'm like, so who's George? Right? And she's like, oh, it's the daytime ghost spirit that's always up in here, like throwing our papers on the floor, opening doors, putting his hand underneath. If you go to the bathroom, putting his hand underneath the thing and making all the paper just fly out. So I'm like, so y'all have a daytime spirit and y'all named it? Okay, so the name is George. Got it. Cool. George, I'm here today. I introduced myself, right? So George decided that today was going to be the day to pick on me. So because I never worked daytime, hardly ever, my papers were all over the floor. Then when I got up, so I went and got me some coffee, right? Put my little cup on the desk or whatever to drink my coffee. I'm typing on the computer. Did my coffee get knocked onto the floor? So George thought it was going to be, today he was going to try me. Okay. I got to go pick up this coffee, right? I feel him, but I don't see him, if that makes sense, right? I can feel him. I go into the bathroom. I'm going to go get paper towel because I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. Put my hand under the thing, whoosh, get my paper. As I'm about to walk out, somebody put their hand back under the thing. And next thing you know, all this paper towel just starts coming. All the paper towel starts coming out. It's coming out so bad, it's going into the trash can at this point. And I'm just like, so I was just like, George, stop. Like, stop. Like, you're making a mess. And he stopped. He stopped doing it. And it just got like super cold in the bathroom. So I'm just like, do we need to have a conversation? So I go back out and I tell the lady, I'm like, listen. She's like, George did it, huh? Yep, he did something with the bathroom. I'm like, yes. Like, y'all don't have control over this daytime guy. Like, he's just a prankster, a jokester. So come to find out, his family, like, when he passed away, his family was like, oh, he always used to play jokes on people. You know, he was a good guy. His real name wasn't George when he was living, but that's the name that they gave him, right? So she's like, you know, they told us about him, blah, blah, blah. He's a jokester. He likes to do this, that. He'll mess with you all day. Mind you, when I come in at night, George must be asleep because I have my own little spirits, ghosts that I named a couple of them, but I don't really name them like that because they just be popping up whenever. But I was just like, y'all just let George run rapid up in here, messing up stuff and tearing up stuff. They don't have no control over their daytime spirits, like, at all. And I don't got time for that. So I had to let George know, like, listen, if I'm going to be working days, you can't be doing this to me because it makes it look like I don't know what I'm doing because I'm knocking down papers and spilling coffee and messing up the paper roll. That ain't me. So hopefully the next time I go back, if I ever go back today, George will be on his best behavior, because I'm not going to deal with that. So you do get some that are like, that want to play too much, like the nights with the lights, and some that are, I've never ran across a demonic spirit. I don't know. Some people be like, oh, those are demons you're messing with. No, they're not. Some of them are kids. They are not demons. Like, they're not demonic. They're not trying to hurt me. They're not doing anything to like bring me into the afterworld with them. They're just one, just lost souls. We'll say that. We'll just call them lost souls. I don't treat them badly. They don't treat me badly. But George, I got something for you.
Okay, I have lots of ghost stories too, but I'm going to start with one. So the house I live in now was part of the Underground Railroad. So I have lots of ghost stories in this house, but I'm going to tell a story about the old house. So one of the reasons why I didn't notice if doors were left open or lights were left on was because I had ghosts. So in that house, when after this whole thing happened, my brother got home from the Marines. He moved in with me for a while, and he was living in my back room. And one time, I used to travel all the time for work. I was not home. He calls me in like the middle of the night, and I didn't answer. So the next day, he was like, "Hey, did you come home last night?" And I was like, "No, what are you talking about?" And I'm like, "I'm in Connecticut." And he was like, "What?" And he said, in the middle of the night. Now, mind you, brother, Marine, 6'3", 250, like huge dude, right? He heard a noise in the back. He was like, I heard a bang, bang, bang. He got up. He kept hearing the banging. He went in the main part of the house, went down in the basement, walked all around the house, thought maybe it was kids, something, went back, laid in his bed, heard the banging again, heard it was so bad, so loud, scared him. He got up in the middle of the night, went to the gym. Got up in the middle of the night and was like, absolutely fucking not. I am out of here. In that house, I used to lay in my bed and I would hear people walking upstairs. One time, we came home from my mom's house and there was a chair moved in front of the TV and I had to tell my kids like it's okay. Oh, and with the banging, like 2 days later, I was sleeping, my kids were sleeping in the living room, and we heard the banging again. My brother comes running from the back room. He's like, I told you, you heard it. We checked the whole house. We could not find anything. It sounded like something was banging on the walls in the basement. So we had to like talk to the ghost. We'd be like, hey, stop doing this. You're scaring the children. One time the side garage door, we came home, the side garage door was open. So again, here we are scared, thinking, I don't know, we have a squatter or someone, whatever. Doors were left open, lights were left on, all the time. Now that's just the old house. In my new house, it's insane. I have a dirt floor basement, an old maid's entrance, and I have had ghosts here since. I'm gonna have to make this like a multiple series thing. Okay, I have lots of ghost stories too, but I'm going to start with one. So the house I live in now was part of the Underground Railroad. So I have lots of ghost stories in this house, but I'm going to tell a story about the old house. So one of the reasons why I didn't notice if doors were left open or lights were left on was because I had ghosts. So in that house, when after this whole thing happened, my brother got home from the Marines. He moved in with me for a while, and he was living in my back room. And one time, I used to travel all the time for work. I was not home. He calls me in like the middle of the night, and I didn't answer. So the next day, he was like, hey, did you come home last night? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I'm in Connecticut. And he was like, what? And he said, in the middle of the night, now mind you, brother, Marine, 6'3", 250, like huge dude, right? He heard a noise in the back. He was like, I heard a bang, bang, bang. He got up. He kept hearing the banging. He went in the main part of the house, went down in the basement, walked all around the house, thought maybe it was kids, something, went back, laid in his bed, heard the banging again, heard it was so bad, so loud, scared him. He got up in the middle of the night, went to the gym. Got up in the middle of the night and was like, absolutely fucking not. I am out of here. In that house, I used to lay in my bed and I would hear people walking upstairs. One time, we came home from my mom's house and there was a chair moved in front of the TV and I had to tell my kids like it's okay. Oh, and with the banging, like 2 days later, I was sleeping, my kids were sleeping in the living room, and we heard the banging again. My brother comes running from the back room. He's like, I told you, you heard it. We checked the whole house. We could not find anything. It sounded like something was banging on the walls in the basement. So we had to like talk to the ghost. We'd be like, hey, stop doing this. You're scaring the children. One time the side garage door, we came home, the side garage door was open. So again, here we are scared, thinking, I don't know, we have a squatter or someone, whatever. Doors were left open, lights were left on, all the time. Now that's just the old house. In my new house, it's insane. I have a dirt floor basement, an old maid's entrance, and I have had ghosts here since. I'm gonna have to make this like a multiple series thing.
For you. So this is all the way back when I was around 8 years old. My mom and my dad decided their first toxic go around wasn't enough. Hey, let's give it another go. So my mom and my siblings and I moved to this small town along Lake Erie in this house my dad was renting. And it wasn't even in town, okay? It was outside of the already small town in the middle of nowhere on a farm. But also right along the lake. So in terms of views, for days. In terms of anything at all to do, girl, even our boredom was bored, okay? So we all had to use our imaginations to find something to do, and for the first week or so, things were cool. Boring, but we made do. But one day I got dropped off by the bus after school and my mom's car wasn't there yet for some reason. So the bus driver wasn't supposed to leave us alone if the parent wasn't home. But as she was about to call me back on the bus and take me with her, we see a hand waving through the window, and that was apparently enough for the driver. So she lets me off, I go inside and go to the computer room that my mom had waved from to talk to her about my date. Only when I got there, she wasn't there. So I figured, okay, maybe she was in her room and I just walked past her without looking. Got to her room. Nope. Bathroom. Nope. Kitchen, dining room, living room, any of our rooms at all. Nothing. There was literally nobody in the house. So the next thing I thought was, okay, maybe she went outside before I got in somehow. But when I went outside, I see her pulling in the driveway with her car just then. So now I'm freaked out, and I tell her I think there's a ghost in the house, but she just laughs and tells me it's my imagination working overtime from being out here in the middle of nowhere. And I mean, what could I say? There was literally no proof of anything, so I drop it. Things are fine for a couple days. Then I'm sleeping one night when I get woken up by the sound of my younger brother calling my name. So I say, "What?" And I don't get a response. Then I hear him call my name again. So I say, "What, bro?" Again, no response. So I close my eyes only to hear him yell my name right in my ear. So I shoot up, I'm pissed. I turn on my bedside lamp ready to swing on him, but he's literally on the other side of the room under the blanket, fast asleep and slightly snoring. Cue the immediate panic because the fuck? Now I know there's something in my house, so I scream loud as I can, and within 30 seconds, both my parents are in my room, lights on, asking me what happened. I tell them there's a ghost in the house, it was calling my name, and immediately, they're pissed. It's 3-something in the morning, they both have to get up around 6 for work, and here I was, screaming about ghosts. So my mom tells me it was me having a bad dream, and they tell me to go back to sleep and I'll be fine. But if they thought I was closing my eyes again that night, they were more delusional than my straight boy phase. I was more wide awake than Katy Perry, okay? And I wasn't going to sleep for nothing. I stayed awake the whole night, bedside lamp turned on, and went to school tired as hell. I fell asleep several times in class that day, and my teacher decided I must not be feeling well and had my mom come get me to take me home. So I get home, my mom sends me to bed because I must be sick, and I'm happy with that. It's daytime, and whatever was in the house couldn't get me at that time. Yeah, my dumbass already forgot about the hand in the window. So I'm drifting off to sleep, happy as can be, when I hear my mom calling me. So I say, "Yes, Mom?" and don't hear anything, so I close my eyes again, and I hear her yelling my name louder from the other room. So I yell, "Yes, Mom," with my eyes closed. But I wait a little bit and open my eyes when I don't hear anything, and I'm face to face with an old woman leaning over my bed looking at me. Now, if you want a visual of what she looked like, look up the bathtub scene from The Shining, but picture her a little older and that'll get you pretty close. I immediately start screaming and hysterically crying. And Mom comes running. She sits down on my bed and wraps her arm around me, asking me what's wrong. I tell her about the ghost, and she sighs and says, "Justin, there is no good..." But before she could finish her sentence, she looks towards the doorway where she sees the woman too. But in a split second, the woman disappears. But now that I know she sees it, I'm like, okay, cool, Mom, no, she's gonna get us out of here. But tell me why my mom turns back to me, looks me in my eyes, and finishes her sentence. "Justin, there is no ghost." And tells me to go back to sleep while walking out of the room. Okay, so I guess Mom, Dad, and a creepy old lady ghost were now teaming up to be my number one ops. At this point, either my family didn't believe me or they didn't care, and both of those terrified me. So I spent the next couple of weeks refusing to sleep at night and falling asleep at school during the day. It was getting to the point where my academic performance was so poor my parents considered pulling me out for homeschool. But despite begging them to leave the house and constantly bringing up the old woman as the reason, they ended up doing exactly nothing. Until one night, I snuck out to the kitchen to grab a snack sometime after midnight. I overheard my parents in the living room discussing me. My dad was saying, "He sees her too. We should really leave." To which my mom said, "He already replied to her when she called to him. There's no point now." And if y'all haven't heard, if you hear a voice or a spirit calling out to you, you do not answer. So I guess I had unknowingly screwed myself and basically invited this creepy asshole back for more. Over the course of several weeks, I would see her everywhere, day or night, always when I was alone, just torturing me mentally. And when I didn't see her, random things would fall off the counter or off the tables or the walls. My parents were arguing nonstop. Not sure if I could place the blame on Ghost Granny for that one, but if it was her fault, she did us all a favor, honestly. But the cherry on top of this fucked up cake came when one day my brother and I were having a Star Wars lightsaber battle in the front computer room. All of a sudden, I hear hissing. So I swing the door closed, and behind it, there's a 6-foot snake staring me dead in my eyes, looking like it was ready to strike. So we both scream, run to my mom, and tell her there's a snake. And she thought we were pranking her with one of our rubber toys, until she got there and realized we weren't lying. So she goes to bring us to our rooms while she's about to call someone to deal with the snake, but she stops as we're entering the living room and screams. The whole thing is filled up with baby snakes slithering around, and that was the room that she had just been sitting in when we went to get her a minute ago. So mom picks us up, carries us into the computer room, and makes a run for it past the massive snake. I don't remember this, but mom says the snake did try to strike and missed, but she got us out safely, waited for the people to come deal with the snakes, and when they got there was nothing. No baby snakes all over the living room, and no massive snake either. I don't remember much of the rest, but mom tells me she took us all in her car and drove us to a church. I guess we spoke to what I'm assuming was the priest or the pastor there and got some sort of blessing or whatnot. As far as I remember, we never went back to the house. If my parents did to grab anything, I'm not sure, but we ended up moving back with my great-grandpa in actual civilization, and luckily never saw the
bed and you actually want to sleep tonight, then you should skip this. For the rest of us who like scaring the shit out of ourselves, welcome. When I was a kid, my best friend asked a Ouija board how old she was going to be when she died. Okay, spoiler, it told her 22. Probably wondering, did she die at 22? I'm going to tell you a story that only 3 people know. Well, 2, because one of them is dead. This story starts about 20 years ago when Christina and I were about 12. We were inseparable and we used to hang out with her older sister all the time. We were at their house a lot. It looked like a normal suburban house on the outside, but I swear you walked in and it was like a portal to the underworld. This house scared the absolute shit out of me. I would hear screams coming from the attic and I would look down this long, dark, creepy hallway, see dark figures like motioning up when I'm trying to sleep at night. To make matters worse, we would sit in her room with the lights dim, pull out the Ouija board and play all the time. But here's the thing, it only ever worked for Christina. It was like she had some weird connection to it. Naturally, her sister and I always thought this was fake and she was just doing it for attention because it would move so fast all over the place, telling us everything. Never worked when we did it alone, so we were a little bit suspicious. Whatever ghost was on the other side of this had diarrhea of the mouth. This was not like you see on the horror movies where it's like, oh, this is slowly moving to yes or no. Like, no, this was like a T9 texting expert ghost that word vomited constantly. So one day we had just finished watching Big Fish, and in that movie there is this creepy old witch, and you can ask her how old you're going to be when you die. Christina loved this idea. Next thing you know, she's pulling out the Ouija board and immediately asking, how old am I going to be when I die? Planchette slowly starts to move towards the numbers, and it hovers over the 2, and then it takes a little bit of a movement back and comes right back to the 2. Christina didn't even skip a beat. She grabs her red notebook that she wrote down all of the answers the Ouija board said in it, wrote down, age I'm gonna die, 22. Completely calm. Little did we know, something was set in motion and some weird shit started happening for the next 10 years. About a year after the Ouija board incident, Christina's middle school boyfriend tragically died. He was babysitting his 3-year-old little sister, hanging a rope swing for her in the backyard. The parents got home, found the little girl screaming in the backyard, looking at her brother hanging by the tree. He accidentally got tangled in the rope and hung himself. He had been dead for about 3 hours. While Christina was upset about this, she wasn't hysterical, more so distant. And she said to me, I think I'm gonna see him again soon. I just don't see myself growing old. I can't be that upset about it because something like that might happen to me. For the sake of being able to sleep at night, I wrote off a lot of these things. Christina and I grew apart over the years. A couple of other creepy things happened here and there, but for the most part, I think she had a pretty normal life. She got a job, got a fiance, seemed pretty happy from what I could tell. So now we're about 21 and Christina's wedding is coming up. I didn't go to the wedding, but I saw this footage later. Christina's standing at the altar, all smiles, having just been married, trying to take photos with her family. Softly in the background, you hear a little girl singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Christina yells super loudly, Kenna, it's time to take photos. And the camera just slowly pans left. And then you get a great view of this beautiful little flower girl sitting in a pew, holding a Bible upside down, singing the Itsy Bitsy Spider. She shuts the Bible, takes a couple of steps towards the aisle and slowly walks forward. I shit you not, this 3-year-old looks up at this bride and says, "Christina, are you gonna die soon?" Freaked out when she heard this, which would be a normal response, but I heard her talk about death so many times as a teenager and just how it didn't faze her that it was a little bit odd to hear her talking about it like this. I really think it's because she was 5 months pregnant. Things had changed for her. About a year after the wedding, Christina was at a cabin with her family in the mountains, having some celebration. Everyone was there, including her newborn son. It seemed like one of those days where nothing could go wrong. Her family always had a 4-wheeler that we would take around the mountains and have a really good time on. At some point in the afternoon, her and a friend decided to take it out for a ride. But that day, something was different. As they rode through the trails, everything seemed all right until Christina screamed, "The brakes aren't working." They flew off of a cliff. Both of them were rushed to the hospital. Christina didn't make it. She died on the way there.